بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome all of you, wherever you are. I welcome you again with the 11th lecture of the series of the 40 Prophet Hadith in the ruling and politics. And we are talking about what Muslim has narrated from Abu Hurairah, that the Prophet ﷺ said, whomever left the obedience and left the group and then died, he died a death of the ignorance, of the time of ignorance. There is no dispute that leaving the group, the congregation of the Muslims, when they are gathered on a leader who is going to lead them according to the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then there should be an obedience and stay with him. Unless there is like a very clear disbelief in Allah that is there. And we remind what we have said before, that the group is to gather. And the gathering, it has to be something for the bodies, physical, or on a matter that people and together physically, it does not make any difference, because the bodies of the Muslims and non-Muslims could gather, and it's not going to make any difference in the alliance. Or they could disperse and dispute in all over the countries, and that will not change their alliance. Where they are like one body. If one part is sick, then the whole body is sick. So it has to be on a matter. What are the general matters that that they have to gather on? It has to be the religion, the belief, the ideology, or from the politics and the allies. It has to be the legal representatives of people who protect the religion and protect people. So the leaders are the scholars and the leaders, and the alliance in religion for the people of religion and the people who are ruling. Those who are guarding the religion, who are ruling with the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, these are the ones that if they are getting the alliance, that you have to support them and to be with them. And you only leave them if there is like a very clear disbelief in Allah. So what we have said is not different to gather on goodness between others and to have obedience to those who are in charge with no disobedience to Allah. But it has to have conditions. That it should not have on a matter that is elevated, that is against the Sunnah or Jama'ah. Because this part is what makes people dispute and have different groups. And Shatibi used to say, these groups, they became groups because they are different from the surviving group, the one that is going to survive at the Day of Judgment, which is follow the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So this word is whenever there is it changes. Then he said, The Mubtada, they add a lot of branches to the main core of. So this is the first method. The second one, you don't go against the Muslim ruler who is leading and ruling by the Book of Allah. You have to support him, protect him, because of the evidence that forbids to go out on him and require the obedience to them with no disobedience, and not to challenge him, except if there is a very clear disbelief in Allah. The third one, the alliance, is not uh, it's not for that gathering. It is to the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And Shaykh al-Islam have indicated on this when he talked about the different groups, and he said that the head, if they gather on what Allah ordered and for Allah with no increase nor decrease, then they are okay, except for those who try to go to the branches and to disobey the things that not on the Book of Allah. And this is the separation that Allah and His Messenger has warned us from us, because Allah ordered to stick together, to be with each other, not to disperse, and to ordain what is good and forbid what is evil. So there's the idea of a party where people are on an alliance with each other. It's not in part of Islam. Why or how? Because of the time of ignorance, of the thing of supporting the oppressed and to stop the oppressor. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said, that it is good. It is that he will support. And those who did that in the time before Islam, after they embrace Islam, they increase in the goodness that they do. But not on the evil that is not where the Islam that is forbidden. Ibn al-Athir, one of the scholars, he said, so the party of inheritance and of what the so anything against the rule of Allah and disobedience of Allah is what is forbidden. What is allowed is to people for to gather and to ordain what is good, what to obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal and His Messenger. And anyone in the time of ignorance who was good, Islam will increase in his goodness. So what are the things that Allah they give the alliance? Because he alayhi salatu wasalam said that who did not have a bay'ah, making the alliance, He died at the time of ignorance. It was misrepresented, misunderstood, meaning whoever died and the bay'ah that is required, the khilafah, which is the representation of the Prophet ﷺ, which require the obedience with no disobedience of Allah, with the obedience to the ruler. And whomever go against it, he is committed a sin. The leader should not be disputed upon if he is given the alliance, if he is given the full confidence, if there is a legitimate way of coming over. And whomever called it for himself from the nowadays groups, then he has committed a major thing. He committed a problem. And you could see the difference between the two. And how we get this? Because the hadith that give the alliance either with the ruler or the leader, it depends on. And Imam Muhammad was asked, whomever died and he don't have an imam, a leader, he died on in time of ignorance. And then he was asked, do you know who's the leader? And he said, it is whenever the imam follow Allah, and it was given support from everybody. If they are two, then the Prophet ﷺ said to kill the other who came in and tried to put himself in. He said, you give the alliance to the first one and then the first. That's why one of the scholars, he refused to make the alliance to any of the two parties until people came on one person. Hafiz ibn Hajar says from Abdullah ibn Umar, he didn't give the alliance to Ali or Muawiyah. Then he gave to Muawiyah when he made an agreement with Al-Hasan. And when Az-Zubair died, then he gave the alliance to Abdul Malik ibn Marwan. He said, I hate to give allegiance to two leaders until people comes to on the simple one. Maybe if we understand the general talk in here, so we can understand what is meant. Because this is what we have mentioned, not to have too many leaders. Like you cannot have too many presidents. It's only one king, one ruler. And what the Imam mentioned, and whenever you have a leader, everybody have to be obedient to him. You don't go against him, you don't rebel against him unless he commit a very clear disobedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. As-San'ani says about this hadith, whomever refused the obedience of Allah and left the group, he have died being the obedience of the Khalifa that people has agreed on. Because in all the Muslim wars, they never agreed on a leader for every part. Each area, they have their own leader. where the people of Muslims they gather around him. Ashokani says, after the spread of Islam, and it is known that so it is okay to have different leaders, and the obedience has to be for each one after the alliance. So if somebody who and maybe we could talk about the hadith. The bay'ah, which is people give the alliance, so they disbelieve in anything beside that, and anything that's going to separate the leaders, the nations, the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then it is not accepted. Allah Azza wa Jal says, those who separated their religion and they were different groups, you are not for him for anything, their matter is to Allah. And then we'll tell them of what they are doing. He says, because Allah has sent His messenger with guidance and the true religion, so He could expose it to on religion. And His legislation is one. Anything He could distribute after this. Allah freed the Prophet ﷺ and said, you are not with them. No one can take an allegiance to accept everything, to give the allegiance, and to be enemy to his enemies. And this is just like Genghis Khan and likewise. They have the covenant of Allah and His Messenger, that they obey Allah and His Messenger, and they forbid what Allah and His Messenger forbid, and do what Allah and His Messenger permit. In another place, to and all of this is from the time of ignorance that Allah don't like. And the Muslims don't feel like they will do that, even though it is the religion of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ is the one that is obeyed, who is loved, and you always seek his satisfaction and his support and his put down every person part of the right, and it's nothing compared to what the Prophet ﷺ did. So they love what Allah Azza wa Jal love, and they hate what Allah Azza wa Jal hates of His Messenger. And they leave everything that Allah His Messenger left. So we'll be like the people of ignorance, who see their people in guidance and misguidance. And that I am not This is from the time of ignorance that Allah and His Messenger don't like. We'll stop here inshallah, continue next time. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.